Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. I do hope that streaming will be a little bit better than it was yesterday because yesterday was, oh my goodness, I don't know what was going on with the internet. It crashed. It just did all kinds of things, guys. So thank you for everyone who had hung in there with me through the technical difficulties. And with that, we're going to go to our kids' corner.
One candle light another. It doesn't lose its flame, it makes the world brighter. Let me tell you a story about a rich boy who learned this lesson. The boy had everything, big house, toys, and tasty food, but he often felt empty inside, as if something important was missing. One night he saw a poor boy outside, shivering in the cold with no light or warmth, and his heart felt heavy. The rich boy quickly ran outside, holding his candle, and gently offered its light to the poor boy. The poor boy smiled warmly, and for the first time the rich boy felt a new kind of happiness from giving. The rich boy realized, like a candle sharing light doesn't make you lose anything. It only makes the world brighter, and from that day he learned, true wealth is not in what you keep, but in what you share. A little kindness can light up the darkest night.
Yes, so let's remember that a little kindness can light up the darkest night. And we're going to definitely get into our prayer to honor God with our body, but we do have lots to pray about today. And we'll be getting into that in the news. And good morning, Patty Cakes. How are you this morning? She says, good morning, founder or Grand Rising founder. And she's joining us from YouTube. So thank you to everybody joining us live on YouTube, X, and Facebook. And with that, we're going to get into our morning prayers. So, God, how to honor God with our body. So, God, please guard our mind and thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect my ears and help me listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect our eyes from sin's damage. God, we make a covenant with our eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over our mouth. God, set a guard over our mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of our lips. And God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help us to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect us and honoring you with purity, God. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet and help us walk in your path. God, let your word be a lamp for our feet and a light on our path, Father. So, if some of you may have heard, there's been an unfortunate shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they actually lost their life. I know that Tom Coleman had spoke about this a couple of months ago, and I'm gonna, play those videos of him from a few months ago and then one yesterday. And I guess he was interviewed prior to the shooting that happened in Minneapolis, but we're definitely praying for the community there, the woman who lost her life in the vehicle that was driving the vehicle, and my husband and I were talking about it this morning, and it's very scary, um, what's happening, because honestly, I was under the assumption that they used non-lethal force. Um, I know in certain situations, I was like, wow, if they were using force, somebody might get injured. I'm not sure why, they didn't maybe shoot at the tires of the vehicle to disarm the vehicle, in essence, right? Because you can't drive with flat tires. I have to disarm the vehicle. But again, it's very sad that this person has lost their life. So we're going to cover that this morning, and that's going to be the first article that we start with.
They're approaching.
Yeah,
okay.
This is ICE agents just pulling up here. The vehicle is
Lower
right there.
And it happened so fast that it's hard to see what takes place in this particular video, but that is the front angle, and then we have also obtained some video from behind where it happens, but that is the vehicle that belongs to the woman who was killed today. And as Randy said, there were 3 agents in particular surrounding the car. It's unclear why she was parked at an angle in the street or what was happening in the street at that time. We do know that as they approached her vehicle, one agent told her to get out of the car, and then we see the car start to move, and then we hear the shots.
So that video you just saw is the one that President Trump also viewed this afternoon as well. And post watching that video, the president did put out a statement. I believe we have that for you. And it reads like this: I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. We will say from our observations, the officer does not appear to have been on the pavement. He was in front of that bumper at the time, but we never saw from any of our angles him hit the pavement. He goes on to say, is there more of the president's statement, or is this the full context? He goes on to say they are just trying to do a job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this, and these are his words, radical left movement of violence and hate. Again, that was President Trump's evaluation as he watched the video earlier.
And then we have the clip of the perspective from behind the vehicle as well that we want to show you. So you've seen the perspective from the front, and now we're going to show you the perspective from behind, from somebody who had a cell phone out at the scene when all of this. Very quickly, we're going to try to get to a point where we can maybe slow this down and show you some still shots. But as Randy was saying, we see all of the agents standing in the street, nobody on the ground. Again, that is the perspective from behind, and we've watched it several times. So again, that vehicle the woman was in is it's parked in the street. We don't know for how long though, and it was at an angle, and we know that ICE agents then approached that vehicle, and then the vehicle started to take off. Then after you hear the shots, it veers off into that parked car on the side of the street. Kristi Noem also issued a statement today, and I don't know if we can put it up on the screen, but just want to give you the perspective of all the different reactions that are coming in as a result of this shooting this morning. Noem saying it was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively, shot to protect himself and the people around him. My understanding is she was hit and is deceased, and we've confirmed that. This goes to show the assaults that our ICE officers and law enforcement are under every single day. Again, that is Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and again, they have deployed about 2,000 ICE agents to the Minneapolis area in the last couple of days and have already made hundreds of arrests. And we know that they continued with ICE operations later today at different locations in spite of this shooting.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, the loss of life that's happened. And I've seen different videos, and I've played a few on this show, as you guys know, where we've seen people barricading in ICE officers while they're en route doing their jobs. And a lot of people think, okay, they're just driving around picking people up. That's not what they're doing. They actually do have deportation orders that they are following up on, and these individuals are in the general public. This is what Tom Homan was talking about even prior to President Trump officially taking office. He said the problem is, and he's been working with ICE detainments far beyond even President Trump's administration. He was working with federal law enforcement with the Obama administration. And what he was saying is the people that have been detained, right, initially. Let's just say they got arrested, and let's just say it was a DUI. We're just going to set up a whole example. Somebody's here illegally. They get arrested for a DUI. Instead of the local police officers detaining this person and saying, hey, we have somebody who's here illegally in the country, come get them, they release that person back out in the general public. And then ICE is told, go get this person. So when the general public, when they see ICE outside to obtain somebody, and then maybe in the interim, somebody else decides, okay, well, I'm going to cuss out ICE and I'm going to throw things at them and I'm going to do all of these other things. And then when ICE reacts, and then they actually come across somebody who is here illegally in the country and they detain them, then it looks like you're disappearing our neighbors. No, they're not disappearing your neighbors. And some of your neighbors are here illegally and they actually have deportation orders. They actually are criminals that ICE has been, observing along with the FBI, along with DEA, along with these other investigative bodies of the executive administration at the federal level, because at the local level, they're protecting criminals. And this is true. Now, you may not want to hear it like this, but these sanctuary cities, they have set people up, in my opinion, for more of this type of activity. Because, see, people in those states and cities, they believe that they are justified in breaking the law. You're breaking the law. The governors and the mayors and anybody else who's harboring illegals, they are in violation of Title 8, Section 1324. You cannot do that. It is illegal. It is a federal offense. And these people have not been put in jail. Now somebody's lost their life because of your lack of fiduciary duty. It is your responsibility, governors, mayors, city officials, to protect these people. The reason why I didn't mention the police is because the police are under the jurisdiction of those mayors, and that the police have said, we're not going to work with ICE. They're totally at liberty to say and do that. But what they cannot do is violate Title 18, Section 111, which says you cannot interfere with a federal investigation. So this woman positioning her car to barricade ICE agents, you're no longer protected. No longer. So whatever happens after that, yeah, there will be an investigation of why it happened, who it happened to. But this, senators at the federal level and at the state level, House members at the federal level, at the state level, governors, mayors, you better tell people to stop it right now. Right now. Because martial law is not an option. You keep fueling the flame to incite violence. And here we are. Stop it. And I mean it. Stop. Because it is time. DOJ, gloves are off. It is time to go after these governors and these mayors of these sanctuary cities and arrest them because they are violating federal law. It's over. This ends today. People should not be emboldened to get in the way of ICE officers. So do you think, Minnesota is not going to be on fire right now? We're just at a couple of hours. We're not even into a 24-hour cycle from where this is happening. I am pretty sure today there's going to be protests in mass all over this country because of what just happened. Yeah. This needs to be stopped. Now I'm going to play this first clip. Now this is of Tom Homan a couple months ago. So it's probably by maybe November, December timeframe that this meeting, that this interview happened.
House Borders are has been watching all of this very closely, and he's here with us now. Tom, the language to me that they're using is very clear. It's beyond resist. It's beyond First Amendment protected speech. That's all fine. This is actively impeding and threatening law enforcement agents. They're not the only ones who have guns and all that language.
Well, look, I've never seen anything like this. I started back in 1984. I've been doing this a long time. And look, you know, that's why we're working very closely with the Department of Justice. We have increased prosecutions for impediment tenfold. I looked at the numbers the other day. We got the highest number of prosecutions for interference and impediment than I've ever seen. Attacks on ICE officers, as you know, it's up over 1,000%. And this rhetoric is just, if this rhetoric doesn't stop, I said this back in March when the rhetoric was rising. I said, if this rhetoric doesn't slow down, someone's going to die. And the left went crazy that I would say something like that. Well, they have. Unfortunately, I was right. We had a shooter die attacking the Border Patrol facility. We had an officer shot when people attacked an ICE detention facility. We had a sniper attack a Dallas facility and killed a couple of detainees. We've had several shootings in the last week. And it's not going to stop unless the rhetoric goes away. So when the congressman says he's going to prosecute people and hold people accountable, hold them accountable for what? For enforcing the laws that you enacted? If Congress, if ICE are racist and terrorists for enforcing the law, what's that make them? They wrote the law. We're doing exactly what Congress wrote with the laws they enacted that was signed by the president and that were appropriated with funding to do. ICE is doing their job, and they're not going to stop doing their job.
Yeah, and Tom, every individual that was arrested in Chinatown and in New York yesterday, each and every one of them was a deportable alien. They had most of them had multiple criminal prosecutions. It wasn't just counterfeit goods. Sometimes it was assault. It was leaving the scene of a crime. I mean, we went on and on and on. Well, we didn't go through each of them because it'd be here all night. But every single person had committed other crimes and was an illegal alien living in the United States. But none of that matters. If Americans have to suffer for their open borders nirvana, they believe Americans have to suffer. And I really think it's because they think Americans need to be punished.
Well, look, intellectual property theft is something ICE has been working with for decades. These fake goods are selling. It hurts an American employer, American manufacturers, and American employees. So we're going to enforce the laws. But you're right. They all had some sort of criminal history. And let's be truthful and get the facts straight, because the left is lying about this. I look at the data every morning on the way to work. 22 pages of data. Approximately 70% of everybody ICE arrests is a criminal. Bottom line, data shows it. Who are the other 30%? National security threats. Most national security threats don't have criminal history because they're laying low to do the dirty deed. And fugitives, those who had due process at great taxpayer expense and were ordered removed by a federal judge but didn't leave and become a fugitive. We're looking for them too. Because the message we're not going to send to the whole world, enter the country illegally, it's a crime, don't worry about it. Have due process, get order removed by a judge, don't worry about it. No, we're sending a message to the whole world. There are consequences.
Tom, there's also now, they've launched something called an anti-ICE tracker. Have you seen that too? That's a new thing, apparently. We'll put it up on the screen. But this is apparently another tool they're going to use to try to thwart ICE. An anti-ICE tracker that's going to be, I guess, an app that you can download, and you can use that in order to get involved in these radical resistance movements. At some point, doesn't the DOJ have to step in? I mean, isn't this one big RICO action in some way, shape, or form? Seems like it to me.
Laura, they're all over this. They're all over this. Now they're looking at, impediment charges, looking at who's funding this stuff, right? Because I'm telling you, it's a matter of time. And I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it because I truly believe it's a matter of time before an ICE agent's ambushed and killed. Because we're letting people know where enforcement activities are occurring. And they're looking for the worst of the worst. The last thing we want to do is give a bad guy, the worst of the worst, a heads up that ICE is down the street. This is going to get an officer killed. I go to bed every night, and I pray for every man and woman of ICE and Border Patrol to go home safe to their families. I buried too many ICE agents in my career, and Border Patrol agents. This has to stop. So Pam Bonnie's all over us. I know the DOJ's all over this. We'll hold people accountable. This cannot happen. It's disgusting. I can't believe what's going on in this nation today. I wake up every morning in disbelief that people want to call the law enforcement officers the bad guys and the criminal public safety threats the victims. It's ridiculous. It's all upside down. But we're going to keep doing this job and keep President Trump's promise to American people to make this country safe again.
They're punishing Americans and protecting criminals. They should put that on a bumper sticker. Tom, as always, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean.
Now, here is a follow-up video. Now, this was yesterday, or maybe because it says the day before on YouTube. So this was prior to the shooting. Now, you heard Mr. Holman's perspective. He's buried too many ICE agents, right? Now, I have heard him in other interviews talk about the violence and how he wants to make sure that the general public is protected. But when the general public, and this is just my opinion, when the general public decides we are going to impede your investigation, we are going to get in your way, that's when things get different and they go sideways. And I think that's what's happened in the situation in Minneapolis.
Borders are one of the toughest guys I know, Tom Homan. How are you, sir?
Doing good, Sean. Thanks for having me.
All right, tell us about this operation, and are you happy that the Hilton Hotel took their name away from this independently owned hotel that used their name, that were not allowing your agents access to their hotel?
Well, first of all, the operation, yeah, I'm extremely happy. And this should come as no surprise to the American people. You and I spoke months ago. I made a promise that we would flood the zone of every sanctuary city in this country as bringing thousands of more agents, 10,000 more agents because of the big, beautiful bill. Why Minneapolis? Why are they being prioritized right now? Because billions of dollars fraud has been uncovered. And what they need to be concerned with, Tim Walz says he's not going anywhere. Well, either am I. Either is President Trump. Either is Pam Bondi. Either is Kristi Noem. So we're there because of the priority census, right? But that show is going on the road. So if the Democrats are having a fit now, you better get counseling, because this is about to get a hell of a lot bigger throughout this nation. That show is going on the road. I actually think Minneapolis is the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to find a hell of a lot more in Illinois, New York, California. We'll see. But this operation will go nationwide. We're going to keep our promise. And because President Trump is sitting in the Oval Office, every American can put their head on the pillow tonight, knowing the Border Patrol is on that border, stopping all threats coming across the most secure border in history of this nation. ICE agents and FBI agents are working 24/7, 365, every hour of every day, taking public safety threats and national security threats off our streets. Sleep well, America, because we're keeping America safer. So we're doing exactly Minnesota what we're going to do nationwide, which you and I talked about, Sean. We're keeping President Trump's promise to American people to make this country safe again, one city at a time, one criminal alien at a time.
What do you say to the states that are out there that have been threatening to either arrest your agents or not allow your agents to do the job they were hired for, or that have been doxing your agents, threatening your agents, and in some cases, hurting your agents?
We won't be threatened. We won't be bullied. We're coming hard and fast. No apologies. We're going to force law. President Trump made a promise. We are still prioritizing public safety threats, national security threats, and we've proven 70% of those we're arresting are a public safety threat. We're keeping that promise. But let me say this. If you're in the country legally, you're not off the table. Prioritization doesn't mean we forget about everybody else. So if you want to be a sanctuary city, if you want to push back and protest, have fun with that. You're not going to stop us. We're coming hard and fast. If you think we're doing good now, you just wait till this coming year.
I think California, New York, Illinois, those are three states that should follow. Tom Homan, great job. Great job to all the people that are putting their life on the line for all of us. We really appreciate it. Hey.
Now, again, that video was probably, and in my opinion, prior to what happened in the shooting. And Beyond Skeptical, thank you for joining us this morning. We post and stream and Sincerely Lawless. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're posting the stream, and good morning to you as well. She says, good morning, founder. So the sad part, in my opinion, of all this is loss of life, whether it is a civilian or an ICE agent in them doing their job. Because a lot of people just think they're just rolling down the street patrolling. They are not. They specifically go to a particular area. And then I know on the other side of that, people can say, well, if they're going to a specific area, how is it that other people know where they are? Well, you got to understand they have trackers. So if people see any type of ICE vehicles in their area and they upload it to this tracker, it's going out to thousands of people that we may be aware of or not aware of, and those people come to that area to thwart ICE from doing their job. See, they think they're the heroes in this situation, civilians, saying, we're going to stop you. No, you're actually in violation of a federal law called Title 18, Section 111. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop, because this is why somebody has recently lost their lives, because they're in this mindset that they're the enemy. No, they're not. They are there to do a specific job. Let them do their job. Let the court process play itself out. If you need to protest, stay on the sidewalk. Get out of their way. But using your vehicle and getting yourself physically in their way of impeding their jobs, what are you doing? And people are being encouraged to do this. Now, where does that leave us? I can't not listen to anybody at the federal level, Senate or House. Stop this. When you've been standing up there saying they're the Gestapo, they're this, they're that, you have created this incitement of violence. And now you have civilians thinking that they can fight against federal law enforcement when they're there to do their job. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Now, I wanted to bring up 287G because this is something that we've talked about on this show before. Okay. And let me just get rid of some of these videos down here. I know it's just me. So I try to keep everything as clean as possible so I can jump back and forth. But I wanted to talk about 287G and what it is in reference to the ICE agents of immigration nationality, right? INA. It was enacted as part of the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act of 1996. You hear how Tom Homan just said, okay, Senate, House, if you don't like what, is happening, change the laws. But they have not. Okay. They want these laws in place so they can complain, in my opinion, because all you're doing is complaining. You're not changing anything. And I don't want to hear, oh, well, the Republicans are in office now. There's nothing we can do. You did enough damage to the country by allowing illegal people in here. These sanctuary governors and mayors have done enough damage to the American cities by allowing people who should be deported back in the community. This rests on your shoulders. All of this is your fault. I blame every single person that has allowed illegal people to be here on our soil and in our communities and acting like they have a right to be here. No, they don't. This is why we have laws. And you have failed to protect the American people. You failed. And you need to be in prison. No, that's what I'm calling for. This woman should not have had to have died. She died believing that she was doing the right thing. Impeding a federal officer, absolutely not. Stop it. This needs to stop. Now I'm going to go down a little bit. So, in reference to ICE agents specifically, ICE maintains oversight, direction, and training for the program. Participating local officers are deputized to act as extensions of ICE, effectively multiplying ICE's enforcement capacity without requiring additional federal personnel. This includes tasks like screening individuals in jails for immigration status, issuing detainers, and initiating removal proceedings. Now, local law enforcement in these sanctuary cities have been deterred from doing this. Now, they don't have to participate in 287G. 287G is voluntary. Okay, so please understand that it is voluntary. All right. Now, the program operates under models like the warrant service officer model, where local officers can serve ICE administrative warrants, or more comprehensive models involving direct enforcement in jails or during field operations. So, as of mid 2025, the program has expanded significantly with over 1,000 active agreements across 40 states, driven by executive actions emphasizing removal of priority threats like murderers, gang members, rapists, and terrorists. Proponents argue it enhances community safety and national security by leveraging local resources. Critics, however, contend it turns local police into deportation agents, erodes public trust in law enforcement, encourages racial profiling, and diverts resources from local public safety to federal immigration priorities, often at the local agency's expense. Now, here's the other side of that. If you don't let them out once they're apprehended, they're good. All ICE would have to do is just go to a detainment facility that's there, which is the local jail, and deport these people. But you're not doing that. These sanctuary cities aren't doing that. They're just letting people back out on the street, and then they want to blame the ICE officers when they come to pick them up. Stop it. Stop it. It is so horrible. Now it says the video you linked, titled Front Angle Video and ICE Shooting, was released on Live Now from Fox. It depicts a fatal shooting during an ICE enforcement raid in a Minneapolis neighborhood amid adverse weather conditions. And it just kind of goes through the footage. And the person that unfortunately lost her life, Renee Nicole Good, 37, right? Agents surrounded the car and command Good to exit. The vehicle begins to move forward. Gunshots were fired by an ICE agent, and the car veers off, crashing into a parked vehicle. No agents are shown on the ground or directly in front of the car prior to its movement, but the incident unfolds rapidly. The broader context involves a large-scale ICE operation with around 2,000 agents deployed, resulting in hundreds of arrests as part of intensified immigration enforcement efforts. And so, regarding 287G, based on available details, this incident appears to involve federal ICE agents directly conducting the raid rather than local law enforcement officers deputized under 287G. Minneapolis and surrounding areas in Hennepin County have had fluctuating involvement with ICE partnerships, but no sources implicitly link this specific shooting to a 287G agreement. 287G typically focuses on jail-based screenings or warrant service by locals, not field raids like this one, okay, which seem to be a direct federal operation. If locals were involved assisting in the raid, it could tie into expanded 287G collaborations, but the video and statements emphasize ICE's role. Okay. So, for illustration, 287G in similar contexts has been criticized for escalating routine encounters into immigration enforcement, potentially leading to high tension situations like this, though that's speculative here. So, on whether agents were justified from the video and official accounts, the shooting appears, and I'll say allegedly, legally justifiable as self defense under U.S. laws governing use of force by federal agents. And this is guided by the principles of Graham versus Connor, which evaluates reasonableness based on the threat of perceived at the moment, right? So, key factors: agents were in an active enforcement action approaching a vehicle during a raid. Good was instructed to exit, but instead moved the vehicle forward, which official described as an attempt to ram or run over agents, creating an imminent threat of serious bodily harm or death. Statements from President Trump and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem frame it as a defensive response to a violent, willful, and vicious attack, noting the adverse weather may have contributed to agents being vulnerable while stuck or on foot. The rapid sequence command vehicle acceleration shoots, then crash supports a reasonable fear of harm, as vehicles can be deadly weapons. No prior physical contact or agents being struck is shown, but prevention of harm justifies preemptive action if the threat is immediate, right? So, however, full justification would depend on a complete investigation, obviously, including body cam footage, which isn't shown in the video yet, witness accounts, and forensic evidence on the vehicle's path relative to the agents. Public debate around such incidents often questions ICE's tactics, raids, potential overreach, or de escalation options, especially in immigrant communities where trust is low. No reports indicate charges against the agent. So, right now, the agent has not been charged. Aligning with self-defense claims. So there's going to be more to come on this, right? Because obviously there's going to be an investigation of what happened. And again, the body cam footage may tell a completely different scenario than what somebody's cell phone actually captured. And good morning, sassy lady. Thank you for joining us this morning. She says, good morning. It's praying time. Absolutely. Because I don't want to see people put themselves in harm's way. I understand that people are passionate and they don't agree with what ICE is doing. I get that. But do not put yourself in harm's way of them doing their job. They still have to do their job. And it's not your job to impede them. That is a federal offense. Period. Now, if I had it my way, I would actually have a separate law enforcement arm picking people up, and right there, within a 24-hour period, they would be tried if they were impeding in a federal investigation. If you are caught violating Section 18, Title 18, Section 111, you're going to prison. It's going to be 5 to 10 years, depending on what you did. If you were caught definitely on camera doing what you were doing, because cameras will be all around the vehicles that would be patrolling right behind ICE, you would be in prison. Period. This needed to be handled, shut down from the beginning. I don't think people realize that rocks have been thrown at ICE agents, bottles, all kinds of things. You can't do that. You can yell, you can scream, you can do whatever you want to, but you cannot be in the way. But throwing rocks and doing all these other things, no, you need to be in prison. Period. You need to be in jail. You cannot do that. And it should not be encouraged. And these House members and Senate members that have encouraged and incited violence need to be in prison. Oh, yeah, you're holding office thinking, oh, I'm above the law. No, you are not. You are not above federal law. And we have you on camera. We have you on camera admitting to violating federal law. And you need to be prosecuted immediately. This is a demand. May not be a demand from everybody else, but it's a demand from me. As an American, this needs to stop. Now, I went a little bit further because I wanted to say, as of this video, has investigation been launched? And also, do you think there could be a possible uprising? And that would bring about martial law. So it says, based on reports, the video in question appears to refer to body cam, just by a bystander, right? that happened on January 7th, where the 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was killed. State investigation into the incident was indeed launched shortly after the event, with local authorities confirming they were reviewing the circumstances, including claims of self-defense by the agent involved. This aligns with broader federal operations targeting potential immigration fraud in Minnesota, which have drawn scrutiny and political backlash. Now, regarding whether this could spark an uprising leading to martial law, it's possible it escalates into significant protests given Minneapolis' history as the epicenter of the 2020 George Floyd unrest, which involved widespread riots, property damage, and calls for police reform. High profile criticism from figures like VP Harris labeling it shocking and accusing the Trump administration of gaslighting, and Mayor Jacob Frey dismissing self defense claims as BS and demanding ICE leave the city could fuel tensions, especially if the investigation reveals misconduct or if activist groups mobilize quickly. However, a single incident like this, while tragic and potentially charged, is unlikely to trigger a full scale national uprising or justify martial law, which requires extreme, sustained threats to public order under the Insurrection Act. Past events show these situations often de-escalate with investigations and local responses, unless broader factors like economic discontent or coordinated activism amplify this. Martial law remains a rare tool last seriously considered federally during the 2020 protest, right? Again, my main concern with all of this, and the only reason I really brought up martial law was because I could see this being a tipping point for some people and it triggering more outrage and just a wedge that's already there with Americans, because there are Americans here that believe, hey, we just need to have our open borders and everybody is, they're our neighbor. They're here. And other people are like, no, these people that are here illegally, they need to be removed from our country. And if they want to be in our country legally, there is a legal pathway for that, but you don't get to just cross the border illegally and then we give you legal status. No, that's not how this works. You get deported. And there are other people that are here that have been completely unvetted. We don't know who they are. Now, the fraud that's going on in Minnesota that they have found so far, we don't know how deep it goes outside of the Somali community, because I'm sure they're not the only ones doing it. If they're doing it, then trust me, there's a whole bunch of people that had been doing it. Maybe they're just following the model of what those people were doing. We don't know. But right now, the spotlight is on them in particular. They're refugees. So they're not even here illegally. They've got a status that recently, President Trump says we're not taking any more people from Somalia with regards to this refugee program. So that's been shut off since last year. I think they were one of the first 19 countries, and now it's like 30 countries that President Trump was like, nope, no more people. We're not taking any more people. So they're here. They have a legal status here. So their immigration status isn't being messed with. So it's not about Somalis, but the fraud, right, is kind of, they're overlapping this thing. It's like, no, stop that. But this could definitely be a deterrence from the fraud. The ICE agents are there to get people that have overstayed their deportation orders and they have deportation orders to leave, or they are criminals that are on their list of criminals to remove from the soil. Okay. And because of the fraud going on in Minneapolis, we don't know if those criminals are involved in any other fraud outside of all of the daycare and feeding our future things going on in Minneapolis. I mean, this is a deep rabbit hole, and this is just one state. This is going on everywhere. This is not isolated. So I need people to understand what's happening isn't isolated. It's everywhere. And there are probably other instances where ICE agents are being harmed we don't know about, right? And other people may be being harmed by ICE agents that we don't hear about either. But what are they doing? If an ICE agent, you say, I was harmed by, what were you doing? That's the question. What were you doing? I've seen people jumping on ICE agents' cars, putting them in the way of the cars like they can stop a vehicle. What are you doing? Screaming and yelling, let my people go. Stop that. In the way of the ICE facility, trying to sit in the driveway and make a barrier. Stop it. What is wrong with you? If you want to protest off to the side where you are not being disruptive. But no, y'all want to be in the street. You want to impede the vehicles from driving forward. You want to do all of these things, protecting people that are here illegally. By the way, we haven't even gotten to that part yet. You're breaking the law. You're protecting people that are breaking the law. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And now this young woman has lost her life, believing that she was doing the right thing. Stop it. That's what we got to pray about. This depraved behavior, believing that you should be on the side of illegal activity. If people that were supposed to be deported or need to be deported, we'll just say that, if they were detained like they were supposed to be, there would be no need for these ICE raids because they would be in a prison, isolated, away from the community where ICE could go and pick them up safely. Wouldn't be having this conversation right now. They shouldn't even be in the communities anywhere for this to even be happening. But you got these sanctuary city mayors, House and Senate members, governors, lieutenant governors that are allowing this. And then they want to blame ICE when something goes wrong. What is wrong with you? It's evil, and it needs to stop. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we're going to get into some more news. There's some things that I came across that I wanted to share with you guys, but thank you for joining us. And this is Mighty Men Thursday. So if there are any of our men out there that would like to join the conversation, or if they've got any questions, just let me know in the comment section, and I will make sure to send you a mic. But thanks again for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, and we will see you on the other side.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take your well-being from the inside out. and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you guys so much for joining me here this morning. And let's see, the next part of business that we need to get to is this. Oh, my goodness. So we know that there's fraud going on everywhere, y'all. We know it's happening. But this doesn't necessarily have, this clip that I'm going to play for you doesn't have to do with fraud. So I'm going to play the other video that deals with fraud. And it's interesting because it's very similar to the fraud that was going on in Minnesota. But the interesting thing about this is who it is. Sometimes it's not always the fraud, but who it's tied to, right? So let's just check this out.
Michael Byrd, that shot Ashley Babbitt. Oh, turns out he's involved in all this. It goes on and on and on. Undeclared daycare center in Maryland at his home and has pocketed $190 million in HHS funds. What? I mean, now you're, whoa. Put that back up there. Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who shot Ashley Babbitt dead in January 6, 2021 in cold blood, runs an unaccredited daycare center in Maryland at his home and has pocketed $190 million. Boy, that must be a big house. Is there like 100,000 kids in it? Are you starting to see, folks, do you think he actually runs that himself? I remember like 15 years ago, there was even a local news article or something like $56 million of tax returns were sent to a 4-bedroom in East Austin. And the news went out there and no one was even living there. There's the house that billed $190 million. But look at this. Public federal funds. Mr. Byrd, who shot Ashley Babbitt, got an award for it 5 years ago today. The Byrds have received, in just the last few years, $190 million in HHS daycare funds to one house. And then they link through the documents right there. I mean, you can't make that up. And here's why the DOJ and the FBI, who've known about this, and they already found a couple trillion stolen by the NGOs and USA, the Department of Energy, and all the rest of it, and the EPA. The last 76 days of Biden, when Trump was president-elect, they were just wiring billions to random bank accounts without even names on it. Remember all that? There have been some indictments of high-level people, over the agencies and things, but still no indictments of the kingpins above them. And a lot of that is because some Republicans are on the payroll, too. Doge found about 7-8%. They know where the money went to Republicans. And we know the names of the Republicans. Lindsey Graham. People like that. So, wow. $190 million billed to one house. And granted, it's a nice house. Let's put it on screen. We can even look the address up. Looks about like a 5-bedroom to me. House like that costs about $1 million in Austin. Bird's Family Daycare, Brandywine. There's the address. School care, after-school care. Accreditation, meals provided. They charge for that, too, for the government. Transportation. Oh, yeah, that's another one of the scams. Ages, 6 weeks to 12 years. Hours, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that one house billed $190 million. Oh, and guess when it opened up and he started getting the money? 2021. What happened 5 years ago? Well, Mr. Bird did a really special service for everybody. Here, let's pull up. I hate watching it, but we'll watch it.
But
our own reporter shot the.
I'll pause it right there. But yeah, $190 million in 5 years. Not even 5 years, because this year would be 5 years. So like maybe 4. $190 million? No, it's not possible. Not. Even if you do run a home healthcare center. No. So it's not just the Somali community. Now, in that video, and I'll definitely link the video, Alex goes on to talk about how maybe possibly, allegedly, it could have been tied to what happened with Ashley Babbitt, because that is the officer that shot her as she was coming through that window there at the Capitol. But the fraud behind it. $190 million in 4 years? Really? Take you 5 years to get just $100 million. That's almost $200 million. So he was making maybe close to what is that, like $30 million a year or so? Or a little bit more than $30 million a year? For a daycare? Stop. I know being a daycare center can be lucrative, but that's not normal. Okay? That is not normal at all. Now, this next video that we're going to get into, I had mentioned yesterday about migrants getting $30,000 in financial assistance in Massachusetts. So let's just check this out.
Americans, I had not even touched the surface of how bad it's gotten in our country, where every elected official is doing something for everyone except Americans. Just listen to this. The governor of Massachusetts, Maura Healey, is giving $30,000 to each illegal immigrant family just to help them to move into homes. Let me ask you, Americans, has anyone ever given you $30,000? I've bought 2 homes. I bought 2 homes, and I don't know how many apartments I lived in when I was younger. No one ever gave me any money. They are giving $30,000 to illegal immigrants in Massachusetts. Now, illegal immigrants probably have not paid a lot of taxes in Massachusetts. Therefore, the money that she's giving illegal immigrants is coming from her hard-working American citizen taxpayers. That's where the money is coming from. But that doesn't stop there. This is what she's also doing. Each family can also get up to $4,000 per month in EBT cash. Up to $4,000 a month. Do you know that how few Americans get any money, especially cash, from our government? Almost none. I mean, you talk about the people who are usually the poorest people, but just regular American taxpayers, we don't get any money from our government. Then $500 per month for food. Wouldn't you like $500 per month for food? And then they get free health care and free cable.
Yeah. Everything's free. No, it's not. Somebody's paying for this, and it's the American taxpayer. What? I was just like, oh, come on now. Come on now. So apparently, yes. All right. So here's the breakdown. So it's called Home Base. It's designed to help families eligible for emergency assistance shelters, including both local homeless families and migrants, refugees, or asylum seekers. So, is it helping any Americans? Again, transition to stable housing. It provides up to $30,000 in total assistance over a 2-year period, with the possibility of an additional year in some cases, though third-year extensions were paused in mid-2025 due to demand. Well, yeah, this isn't a lump sum cash payment, but rather covers specific housing related expenses such as first and last month's rent, security deposit and broker's fees, monthly rental stipends, right? Cap based on family size and location, often around 1,000 to 2,000 per month, limited funds for utilities and moving costs or basic furnishings. The program aims to reduce reliance on expensive emergency shelters, which can cost the state 50 to 100,000 per family annually. Mm. By encouraging self sufficiency, for example, participants must demonstrate progress towards employment or other stability goals. And many migrants in the program have pursued work authorizations through state supported clinics. As of 2025 data, over 1,000 individuals in the shelter system, primarily migrants, had obtained work authorizations, with more applications in process. What about the Americans? Why is it mostly migrants? Why are they giving people? Why? It's just so disrespectful. It truly, truly is. And Michelle says yes. And the Office of New Americas, yeah, this is what's happening. So, for context and scale, Massachusetts has faced a significant influx of migrants since 2023, straining its right to shelter law, which requires the state to provide emergency housing for eligible families. By mid 2025, the home based caseload had surged from about 1,500 families in early 2023 to over 7,700, with program spending jump from 9.5 million in 2022 to 97 million in 2025. So almost 10 times the amount that when it started. And they didn't blink an eye. Didn't say, "Oh no, we can't do anything to help American citizens, but we can help these migrants." Yeah, we can do all that. What is it? What is it with these mayors and these governors blatantly violating federal law and harboring illegal aliens? This is still harboring of illegal aliens. This is still a violation of Title 8, Section 1324. It's still a violation of federal law. It's crazy. And Michelle says, I was having difficulty getting this package made eligible. Yeah. How is this even possible? So not all participants are migrants. The program serves a mix, but estimates suggest around 30 to 40% of recent enrollees entered the system as migrants or refugees. So again, they're still here illegally because, and this is why I say because, when people are refugees or asylum seekers, there's a program behind it, right? There is a specific, you are from this area, we are accepting refugees or asylum seekers from this specific area. You can't just come to the border, not come through the proper port of entry and say, I'm an asylum seeker, I'm a refugee. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because there's a designation for you from the country that you're coming from. And I'll use Somalia as an example. They are specific refugee class. Specific. Okay. And they were allowed to come over here. If you are not a part of something like that, you've lied. You've committed fraud. So I wonder how many of these people are not just here illegally, but they have committed fraud saying that they are a refugee or asylum seeker. That needs to be investigated also. Now, the pilot program launched in early 2024 specifically targeted up to 400 migrant families with additional case management to access home base for long-term housing. Why are you focusing on people that are not American citizens? It's just insulting. It's insulting, Massachusetts. It's insulting. So the program has drawn backlash from critics, including Republican lawmakers and taxpayer advocacy groups, who argue it's a revolving door policy that shifts costs without addressing root issues like federal immigration delays on work permits. Some point out that while 30,000 over 2 years is cheaper than prolonged shelter stays, the rapid spending growth burdens state taxpayers amid other economic pressures like rising grocery costs. There have also been reports of misuse or quick depletion of funds. For instance, one migrant mother exhausted her 30,000 allocation in 10 months and sought further aid from nonprofits. So they get it. They get the grift. They're like, "Oh no, I need more money." How do you exhaust 30,000? How does this happen? And you shouldn't even be here in the first place. You can't even work. When they get here, they do not have work permits. And people have allowed them to be put on assistance, which is in violation of a federal law that was passed down in 1996. Now, in the HR 1, because some people might be triggered by the name. So in HR 1, it specifically states that the enforcement of that 1996 federal law. So I wonder what's going to happen to a lot of these people who are migrants getting any assistance. That assistance is going to be cut off. Why do you think a lot of these states do not want to turn over the information that they have on the people that are signed up to these programs? Yeah, because they shouldn't be getting anything. Not health insurance, not food assistance, not financial assistance, not housing assistance, nothing. They are entitled to nothing. Even when they come over here legally or illegally, they don't get anything but these NGOs. And that's being shut down too. So the money is being shut off. So I wonder what's going to happen. Because this is a state-run program. So they're just, putting it on the backs of their citizens in their state. Horrible. Massachusetts, horrible. So, and additionally, unrelated, but sometimes conflated issues include minor repair costs at shelters, right? And the 30,000 spent on damages at a hotel in 2025. It's not direct aid to individuals, and calls for Governor Maura Healey for residents to host migrants voluntarily. So that means, hey, have somebody live in your house that's a migrant. What? Kidding me? Though it's separate from home base and doesn't involve payments to the host. So you're just going to let somebody live with them for free, right? You just need to open up your home to a family for free. You're not going to get a stipend, family, for letting somebody else use your water, your gas, your whatever. But they're going to give money to these migrants. I'm telling you, this needs to stop. So proponents, including immigration rights groups like Myra Coalition, emphasize that home base promotes stability and integration, helping families avoid homelessness while contributing to the economy once employed. They note it's more cost-effective long-term and aligns with Massachusetts sanctuary policies. Yeah, they have sanctuary policies. Really, Massachusetts? Why aren't you getting your American people working? Maybe you are. Maybe we just don't know about it. Maybe we just haven't heard about it. Because the only thing I really heard out of Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine, that little pocket, unfortunately, they got hit really bad with meth, fentanyl, just a lot of drugs going on up there, sadly, right? In those pockets and communities. Have you cleaned that up? Why are you so focused on taking care of people who don't belong here? That's my question. And that's a very, very sad situation up there. So we definitely need to be praying for the people in Massachusetts. that not only did they get this person out of office because they're the current governor, Mara Healy, but they don't vote her into Senate. I think she's running for a federal Senate position or something like that. Like, yeah, she needs to be out of office. She needs to be in prison because you're harboring illegal aliens. You are in violation of Title 8, Section 1324. Because you know that they're here illegally. And you're like, oh, we're a sanctuary city or state. No, you need to go to prison. You need to go to jail. Period. It needs to happen. And Michonne is sharing some. I'm just going through her notes. She says this agency was denying Americans and approving migrants. She says there's a housing network set up specifically for all illegals in New York City. That's where Michonne is. Now that's interesting. She says that's why eviction rates went up to make room for migrants. A one bedroom in New York City is $5,000 a month. Could you imagine? That's about as much as for $1 million home for a mortgage. And people are paying $5,000 a month for a one bedroom, and they're putting it on the taxpayers in New York. I feel so bad for the people of New York City. I mean, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse because you do have a socialist mayor who's basically like, yeah, we're just going to tax the rich. What if the rich leave and shift where they pay their taxes and you lose the tax revenue that you've once had? You can lose some tax revenue. I'm just saying, and it's going to make it worse for the city and for the citizens of the city. Have you really considered that, sir? It's going to be interesting to see. And again, we need to keep everybody in New York City definitely in our prayers. Now, this next video I came across, and I thought it's definitely important information that you guys should know. This is about injections that are being allowed or not allowed, right? And I hadn't really heard about this until this content creator brought it up, and it's Melanie King, and I've played her content on here before, but this was really is not so much shocking because I know they really want to force people to get injections. I think for me, it was how they were able to finagle it and get the courts to side with them, and how there aren't any legislatures that have stood up against this, right? This is the crazy part.
It's happened, guys. Take a look at this. A federal court quietly ruled that the government can force any medical intervention on you with no evidence or judicial review. Almost no one noticed. The Ninth Circuit said as long as officials say public health, courts shouldn't question them. But we just fought back. We just petitioned the Supreme Court to review this unprecedented ruling. This may become the most consequential Supreme Court case of the 21st century. This case is not just about the COVID crisis, said the HFDF president and founder Leslie Manookian. Okay. It's about the future of liberty in America. Nicole Shanahan called the Ninth Circuit's ruling terrifying.
I am so sorry for that interruption. I don't know. I'm glad I was frozen. At least, my goodness. Kicked me out the room. The internet dropped. I'm running it off my phone right now. This is crazy. This is crazy. But thank you guys for hanging in there with me. I don't know what happened, honestly. Being real serious right now. I do not know what happened. I'm gonna share my screen because I know I can't do too much with my phone. I don't want to wear it out. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try to play this video. If the video gets weird, then we're not gonna do the video. Okay. But we'll see what we can do. So let's try it. Oops.
Guys, take a look at this. A federal court quietly ruled that the government can force any medical intervention on you with no evidence or judicial review. Almost no one noticed. The Ninth Circuit said as long as officials say public health, courts shouldn't question them. But we just fought back. We just petitioned the Supreme Court to review this unprecedented ruling. This may become the most consequential Supreme Court case of the 21st century. This case is not just about the COVID crisis, said the HFDF president and founder Leslie Manookian. Okay. It's about the future of liberty in America. Nicole Shanahan called the Ninth Circuit's ruling terrifying. She's right. The circuit court's ruling threatens to make COVID-era tyranny the new normal. Now, I have the entire briefing about this, but let me play this. I actually have something with Nicole Shanahan actually talking about it.
And by definition, can they even be called a vaccine if they don't stop the spread of a, right?
Well, did you hear about what happened for Health Freedom Defense Fund last week? I don't know if you're aware of this.
No, I'm not too familiar with your organization. I've heard a little bit about it, but yeah, tell us, share.
So I mentioned that we had sued the Los Angeles Unified School District in 2021. Well, we sued them twice in 2021 because first we sued them over mandating the shot when it was EUA, and then they basically duped the court into believing that they weren't going to issue a mandate because they had repealed their first one, rescinded it. And then so the court dismissed the case and said, look, there's nothing for us to adjudicate at this point. The case is no longer ripe. We're not going to deal with it. We're dismissing the case. 17 days later, LAUSD implemented a new mandate saying that employees could not test, and it fired a couple of weeks later 500 employees. It went on to fire or displace more than 1,000 in total. And it denied, it said, well, we accept your religious exemption or your medical exemption, but they refused to accommodate them. So they pushed them out. People were pushed out. No pensions. They lost their seniority. They lost everything. They were fired. They lost their jobs. I mean, it was really outrageous. So we filed another lawsuit in November of 2021. And in this case, we argued that the shots do not stop transmission or infection. And we knew this because CDC said that in late July of 2021. And CMS confirmed that. Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services confirmed that in, I believe it was October of 2021. And so if they don't stop transmission or infection, we argued, then they are not a public health issue. They are therapeutic. They are a private matter, and they must be treated as such. We also argued that natural immunity is real and that the Supreme Court case from 1905 called Jacobson versus Massachusetts doesn't apply because Jacobson was predicated on the Supreme Court's assumption that the smallpox vaccination was safe and effective because it had been in use for many, many years. Now, I will leave that aside because I don't think it was safe or effective, but that's what people claimed and that's what the court accepted.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, we ended up doing super well. At first it got dismissed. Then we had a fantastic argument in front of a 3-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit on appeal, and they found in our favor. And then there was what's called an en banc review, meaning a broader review of the Ninth Circuit. And usually it takes 9 to 10, 12 months to get a ruling, an opinion, or a decision out of the Ninth Circuit. It took 3 months to get their decision this time, and they ruled against us last Thursday, July 31st. And they said that all that mattered was that there was a public health emergency. I don't think that's true. We actually argued that COVID was not smallpox. Smallpox had a 30% death rate. We knew already by the time when LEUSD mandated their shot that the death rate was in line with the seasonal flu. It was absurd. It was not it was not an emergency anymore. We knew from the spring of 2020 that 4% of Los Angeles County residents had already been exposed and recovered. Literally 4% in April, May of 2020. This was known a year in advance. It means everybody's been exposed practically at that point by August of 2021. And so we argued it's not the same thing, and therefore Jacobson does not apply. And the court said it doesn't matter whether or not the shot stops transmission or infection. All that matters is that the school district could have assumed that it did.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yes, it is, Nicole.
That's a terrifying precedent. Are there any appeals available?
We can appeal to the Supreme Court, and so we're considering.
Is this not insane? Like, I haven't heard about this. Have you heard of anything about this? Like, essentially, this means there are no guardrails. If the government, if this was the COVID again, right? They can mandate that everyone has to have the shot. Like, that they can do any medical intervention to the public without any approval, without any process, and there will be nothing you can do about it. I know she said a lot there, may have been a little confusing. I encourage you to watch that part again, just to understand she was just walking you through this. But this is what just happened. And so unless if the Supreme Court does not take up this case, this is the law of the land. If they take it up, they may still most likely vote against us. Right? Because what is coming out, guys, that we've talked about this. That is the plan. That is where they're going towards. What the intervention is to have the mark of the beast patch that Bill Gates has unveiled, that I've showed you. It puts quantum dots and a QR code under your skin so that your vaccine passport. They said that there are going to be multiple vaccines that are rolling out for the pandemics that are all coming out. This is part of the plan. We know Elon Musk just said that they're going to be mass implanting Neuralinks this year. They now have the capability to mass implant this. Well, what if the government decides that we all need to do this? Like, guys, there is no limit to it. Are you understanding how insane this is? So I wanted to give you that update, but then let's look at this. Grocery stores are now biometric checkpoints. Signs inside Brooklyn and Manhattan Wegmans locations openly admit shoppers are being scanned, faces, eyes, and even voice prints, and that the data is being stored, not deleted, stored. That's a quiet reversal from what customers were originally told when this program launched. Some shoppers say it feels invasive. Others say it feels inevitable. It is inevitable. And for years now, the New York City Council has failed to move stalled legislation that would limit biometric storage. Well, I wonder why it's been stalled, guys. Okay. Is this really about security at Wegmans? Or are we being trained to accept biometric surveillance everywhere we go? Let's look at this.
Details tonight on what Wegmans does with its biometric data of shoppers. Signs at the Brooklyn and Manhattan stores say facial recognition, eye scans, and voice prints are used and kept to increase security. But when Wegmans originally launched a pilot program, management said any data of shoppers would be deleted. Some customers complain the policy makes them feel uneasy. Legislation in the city council to block biometric storage has stalled for years. Still details tonight on what.
Why would a grocery store even need your biometric information? Why? It makes zero sense. There's zero reason.
It kind of makes sense. A little bit. Because if you can no longer buy or sell, you can't just walk into anywhere. they'll be able to keep you out with biometrics because they'll see you coming, and they will be able to physically stop you if you try to enter these locations. That's just my opinion. That's my tinfoil hat on it.
And then for them to store it, like none of it makes sense other than this is what is going to be rolling out along with digital ID, guys. They have the cameras now that do facial recognition. They know who you are. I've given you report after report on what is happening. Okay. They want mass surveillance system of not just the United States, but the entire world. That's part of what Palantir's goal is. And also part of that is thought crime, pre-crime, being able to read your face. They have actually said this in the documentation to see where your emotions are, see what you're thinking, see, they can read faces of aggression, all types of things, and know who you are. This is not the future. This is now. And it's not just New York City, guys. They roll it out slowly in places like New York, places that are more socialist and communist and all. But guys, it is going to be mass put out here for 2026. And they've told us this much. But let's take a look at this.
Wegmans in New York City is storing your face on a computer server. This happens in Brooklyn and Manhattan. I saw them putting up the signs. That's how we started reporting the story. They're expanding a previous pilot that only collected workers' face data, and now they're collecting, according to the signs at the stores, voice data, eye scans, and facial recognition data from anyone who enters their stores. Wegmans is not the first and not the only business to do this in the city. You might remember Madison Square Garden has relied on facial recognition technology to eject people that venue disagrees with or doesn't like. Wegmans spokespeople say, look, we're following the law in New York City by telling you that we're collecting this information.
But the interesting thing is you would think just because they're collecting the information, okay, it's still a violation of a Fourth Amendment right because it to me it's very interesting because you would think, hey, we have a Fourth Amendment. Why are you even, collecting this data on me without my permission, right? But in essence, the Patriot Act kind of removed that permission. Remember I was saying, when you get these phones and different apparatuses, you kind of sign away your Fourth Amendment rights. And according to what New York has done, they've basically said, well, because we are telling you that we're doing this, by you going in there, you are giving your informed consent because we're telling you we're doing this. So if you don't agree with it, don't come in here. But if they're doing it everywhere, are people really reading the signs? Are they really making a conscious? Just saying. It's very disheartening what's happening, especially with that. And I'll make sure to link the video so you can see the rest of that. And Michonne says we're already tracked. And no cashiers in stores. Yeah, that's happening. They're getting us conditioned, right, to have fewer cashiers or self-checkout, right? It's like I'm already paying to be in this store. What am I paying for if I don't need you here? Yeah. They already I think they tried it with they had like Amazon food stores. I don't know if you guys remember that years ago. I think they tried it in Europe. And basically if you have like a Prime account or an Amazon account, you go in there and you pick out whatever food you're getting in it and you walk out with it, but it automatically pays for it off of your account based on who you are because it has like your fingerprint recognition or whatever that you've given over to Amazon. Okay. And you can just walk in the store, get what you need, walk out, and it just comes out of your account. No transaction necessary. None. So that's without any type of like chip or tagging or whatever. That's just an account. Yeah. I mean, it is the road and the path to the beast system. We're already in it. It's just a matter of conditioning people to accept the convenience of it. And when you can, it's convenient, it's more secure. You don't have to worry about, money. If people want to rob you for whatever they want to rob you for, they are, because criminals are who they are. But if our officials are not going to come down on criminality, what are we doing? But crime pays, and it pays. And some of these politicians understand that, and they allow criminal behavior in their cities because it knows they pays them. Okay. Massachusetts, okay, they may not have an overt crime problem, but they're still committing crimes by harboring illegal aliens. They're still committing crimes. It's still fraudulent activity. And so, with that, I'm going to cut the stream short because this has been a little bit of a wild stream. If you guys were here a few minutes ago, my internet just dropped out. My house internet just was like, so right now I'm running off my phone and I don't have a high volume of streaming on my phone, so I can't stay on too long. But thank you guys so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. Sorry we couldn't do the open mic, but we will be back tomorrow for Prayer with Fridays, and definitely there is a lot to pray for. So we will see you tomorrow from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. here on Unfiltered Vision News. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We will see you tomorrow.